Hey guys, this is Connor with Diet Talk Waterloo. This video is about hip flexor stretching, which is a very commonly prescribed thing to do nowadays. People sitting for vast amounts of their life, for all of their working life, the office setting, the Netflix effect, all that stuff, just converging on on couches and office chairs and all these things. Spending a lot of time in the seated position will probably lead to tighter hip flexors because they are shortened in that position. You can use them for spinal stability and fixing your posture in that position, which they tend to get used for. And you're typically undergoing a bit of stress when you're in that position as well, whether you're driving or in the office. You're probably stressed to some degree, so probably not breathing in such a way that allows for muscle relaxation. So a lot of people will be told to do some hip flexor stretching. Whether or not that's a good idea, whether or not that's the best way to keep the hip flexors loose is debatable, but most people mess up their hip flexor stretching anyways. So this video is about how to avoid doing damage with your hip flexor stretching and maybe use it for some good. So the standard hip flexor stretch, we'll see me in kind of the bottom position of a lunge. So I've got my legs bent to 90 degrees on each side, both at the knee on each side here in the ankle. So what I want to do from this position, or what most people do rather, is they'll go straight into a huge forward lean as far as they can. My knee is driving way over my toes. I've got a huge back arch going on, and I'm just kind of hanging on the front of this hip socket right here, which kind of feels like I'm getting a stretch through the front of the hip, but what's really happening is I'm actually just pressing my femur into my hip capsule there, and that's giving me that sensation. It doesn't mean that anything is stretching or that I'm actually producing a good effect. If you do that too much, that can actually start to wear on your hip capsule a little bit, and you can do some further damage, impinge some things. It's pretty ugly. So don't do this. That's not a good stretch. Even if you can see people at the gym, they get way deep into that position. That's not necessarily a good stretch, especially if you want to engage the hip flexors with this stretch. So as soon as I arch my back, I'm tilting my pelvis in such a way that I take pressure off of the hip flexors. So if I instead get into a neutral position where my glutes are engaged, I've got them squeezed the whole time, and I keep my hips in relation to my spine in one position, and then I start leaning forward as far as I can. I can't get even close to as far, but you see that my back is not arching to compensate. I've got a nice straight back, my glutes never relax, and in keeping my glutes tight, it inhibits my hip flexors a little bit, and I'm still going to get a little bit of stretch here. I'm still going to feel that effect a little bit, but I'm not grinding down my hip capsule, which is probably a better thing to do with your time. So tight glutes, neutral spine, active core, and then lean forward a little bit, not cranking on the front of the hip capsule. You'll see that same effect with people that are trying to stretch out their chest or the front of their shoulder. They'll grip onto a door frame or something and just lean through it. People do that at the gym all the time too. The same idea. I'm just leaning on the front of that joint capsule. And it's a horrible thing for the joint capsule, and you're probably looking at more inflammation because of it. So just don't do it in the first place, and it's not really accomplishing what you're looking for. So use the stretch in that way: neutral spine, active core, active glutes, and then go into your hip flexor stretching from there. Don't lose those things as you stretch, because that'll probably take some of that effect away.